We also saw visuals of Prime Minister in front of a huge portrait of Lord Vishwakarma. In fact, these artisans that the Prime Minister can now be seen interacting with are the artisans who will be covered under the Vishwakarma scheme. Now, this was a scheme that was announced by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his Independence Day speech this year from the ramparts of the Red Fort. Now, after Prime Minister's announcement, the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs had approved the scheme. There is a total outlay of 13,000 crore rupees for this scheme. This will be available for traditional craftsmen and artisans for 5 financial years, which means from the year 2023 till the year 2028. Now, across the country, we have seen over the past many years how artisans have been struggling to meet the ends meet. 18 such traditional trades like carpenters, boat makers, armourers, blacksmith, those who make the hammers, toolkit makers, goldsmith, pottery makers, sculptors, cobblers, masons, all these are traditional art that India has had over the past many centuries. And these are the people, these are the trades that will be covered under the Vishwakarma scheme. And over the past few minutes, Prime Minister has been speaking with various people who have been involved with these traditional arts over the past many centuries. Prime Minister can be now seen interacting with all those people who will be covered under the Vishwakarma scheme. Prime Minister understanding how pottery is made, having a conversation with cobblers, with goldsmiths, understanding their art. Now, 18 such traditional trades have been covered under the Vishwakarma scheme. The artisans and craftsmen will get a Vishwakarma certificate from Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They'll also get an ID card and they'll get credit support up to 1 lakh rupees. Now, this will be in the first tranche and 2 lakh rupees in the second tranche. All this at an interest rate of 5%. Milan, so first we saw the Prime Minister on board a metro station having a conversation with the citizens. Then he moved on and had a conversation with the people who were involved in making the Yashobhoomi, and now with the traditional artisans of the country. Because traditional art, Milan, is something that we have seen has been dying a very slow death over the past many years. But now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in fact, on the 15th of August from the ramparts of Red Fort, had announced the Vishwakarma scheme, specifically for the people who are in these traditional trades like carpenters, the blacksmiths, locksmiths, goldsmiths, those who are involved in the making of pottery, sculptures. All these people will now be covered, they'll be given money, and they'll also be given assistance so that this Indian tradition does not die down.
Support the skills in people and people who engage in traditional crafts with over 18 crafts that were mentioned just now. And of course, it's going to be a fully funded scheme by the central government. And look at the budget outlay that has been given to it by the finance ministry. It's an outlay of 13,000 crores, which is a huge sum when it comes to promotion of traditional arts as well as traditional craftsmanship. And of course, this scheme is being given to the Vishwakarma community. So the Prime Minister is calling the craftsmen and all these people who dwell in traditional trade as Vishwakarma community through certificates and of course through IDs, and of course there'll be subsidized loans of up to 1 lakh rupees in the first tranche and the 2 lakh rupees in the second tranche at a concessional interest rate of about 5%. So that'll of course help these traders, masons, sculptors, potters and locksmiths, hammersmiths, blacksmiths, goldsmiths and carpenters, plumbers, etc. will all be part of this, and which is very, very interesting to see, because these are the people who are daily wage workers. They work daily to earn their livelihood. But there are, investments that are involved in the kind of work they do as well. The kind of raw material that is required to be sourced to make, a lot of carpentry material, the kind of artisanship that goes into making, perhaps, say, a fabric in into a sari or perhaps a stole, the kind of artisanship that goes into creation of a lot of make in India things also requires funds and investments, and this is where the people can look at expanding and broadening their horizons in terms of making this a viable business, perhaps changing with the times, bringing in technology, but also retaining that traditional ethos that we've been talking about. And in that sense, of course, these are the people who actually require the kind of help that the government can give them. Interestingly, just look at the kind of trades that have been included in this entire Vishwakarma scheme. It's basket, mat, broom makers, coir weavers, doll and toy makers. Remember, India's toy making industry has also not been doing so well for the past so many years, and the wooden toys we see from the state of Rajasthan to the state of Gujarat, wherein India used to be very well known for all the wooden toy trains and the wooden dolls that used to be made at one point of time. But that trade is also becoming extinct. Look at the other people who have been added in this, perhaps the barbers, the garland makers, washermen, tailors, and fishing net makers. So tailors and cobblers and washermen, they're very, very important, city makers, as I would like to call them, to the structure of, skilled labor in our country. And if they are the ones who are being given the direct benefit of having subsidized loans of up to 1 lakh in the first tranche, along with a low interest rate, and that as an incentive, that it could perhaps spell, well for these people who are or have been working in these traditional, works for generations, as, the younger generation no longer wants to work in these kind of traditional businesses because they don't earn enough money for the family, they don't earn enough for sustenance. And that being said, this will be a big push from the government's massive outlay of 13,000 crore from the Finance Ministry of Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman for the Vishwakarma, or the community that actually becomes the backbone of the entire skilled labor system in the country. Aishwarya.